Good evening, folks. Welcome to another edition of Curveball Combos with your boys at Carolina Curveball. Boys, I haven't said that in a long, long time. It's been a minute since we've been on. Colby, Reed, it's good to see you, boys. Braxton is not on today. He is working nights this week. But, fellas, it's good to see y'all. It's good to talk some baseball. We have a lot to recap on from the transfer portal to the MLB draft. Also, still trying to fish out free agent signings. Those are really hard to kind of fish out on Twitter. College baseball already doesn't get covered enough. And some of these smaller programs that have guys that go undrafted and sign these free agent deals, it is very hard to weed out through MLB beat writers to find those. But if we do find those throughout the offseason, we will let you guys know. But first, like I said, let me introduce my cast. Colby, it is good to see you, brother.
Yeah, good to be back. Couldn't make it for the last one when you guys did the post final recap, but haven't been here in a while, so good to be back on with you guys.
Reed Tobin.
Yeah, great to be back. Pumped to recap the draft. Like you said, the portal's been hectic, a lot of stuff. Looking forward to what we have tonight.
Looking forward to what we have tonight, indeed. First, should we let's hit on the transfer portal first before we touch on the MLB draft, because that happened. The MLB draft did happen this past weekend. 42 guys were drafted from Division I programs in the Carolinas. We got some comments about some JUCO guys, high school guys, but we are just talking Division I baseball players in North and South Carolina. Also, what was pretty cool, I want to get this nugget in. Johnston County, where I'm from, which is south of Garner in North Carolina, suburb of Raleigh. There was a guy drafted, I had it on my TV, drafted from Johnston County Community College. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So for those people that commented us, messaged us about guys drafted from community colleges or other division levels, we were just focused on Division I level. But before the draft shakes out, the transfer portal happens. And Colby, you did some really good research on finding out where a whole bunch of guys went. We're not going to go through every single team tonight because that would take a long time, all 28 teams. And also, we don't know if the information is accurate because it is tough to find out where some of these kids go. Because let's be real, everybody, some kids get lost in the transfer portal. That is not talked about enough. Some kids go in the transfer portal thinking the grass is always greener and they're going to make $100,000 at the next school. But sometimes you don't get many phone calls, many texts. So I want to thank Colby for doing this. And we're going to go through some big winners as well as some big losers. And Colby, you have the floor. Me and Reed will add commentary when you ask, sir.
Yeah, I'll start with my alma mater. I think Charlotte has had a really good transfer portal. They've added two pitchers from Virginia, Matt Augustin and Drew Conan. Two pitchers from State, which I'm a State guy too. I would, especially Tristan Potts, one of them. I was hoping he'd get more run, and Landon Carr as well. And then they added three position players from Georgia Tech who didn't get much playing time, but I think that's a low risk, high reward play. Obviously, they lost Dawson Bryce in the portal. I believe he went to Arkansas. AJ Camp to Virginia Tech and Joseph Taylor to Troy. Those are the main three losses. But really like how they regrouped and, like I said, brought in some pitchers from four pitchers from ACC schools, and then also the three position players from Georgia Tech. Another big winner. I'll pass it to Reed. Talk about, I think North Carolina's having a great portal. Reed, if you want to touch on it.
Yeah, the ball keeps rolling for Scott Forbes and crew. They lost some. Obviously, they've are more than likely. I would expect all these guys to sign that were drafted in the top 6 rounds. But I mean, we can talk about this here in a little bit too. But obviously Gallagher returning is huge news. But portal wise, Carolina's had a ton of success here the past few years, really hitting on their guys in the portal, and I look for that to continue this year. Bringing in Jamie Leskovsky, I don't know if I said that correct, but shortstop from William and Mary, one of the top prospects in next year's draft class. So he should be a really good replacement for Jake Schaffner. And then you bring in Blaze Johnson from UNC Asheville, who was one of their standout bats this past season. Scott Duran too from Coastal Carolina, who was pretty good for them up until he got hurt. And then the big get too was James Buriz, I believe is how you say it, freshman from Cal State Norwich, top 2028 draft prospect. So you would expect him to slot into the weekend rotation too as well. So yeah, I mean, the way Forbes has handled the portal the past 2 or 3 seasons, I fully expect the portal acquisitions for next season's team to play a huge role.
Yeah, Gavin Gallagher got a hot dog NIL deal, so I would for sure come back for that too. I saw his Instagram post today.
Yeah,
Got a hot dog NIL deal. It's pretty cool. But Reed, you said it perfectly. The Scott Forbes team is going to be put together in the month of June, and it's going to be put together well. I mean, Reed, if you look past probably the last 2 or 3 years, especially just the amount of guys that he comes in. And the thing that I love about Scott Forbes is, yes, he gets some P4 guys here and there, but I mean, he gets guys from William & Mary, George Mason, Georgia State, Stony Brook, Westland at the Division III level.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting guys from all across the board. He's not being a shark like LSU or these SEC teams pulling from their neighbors. He is not doing that. Granted, he did get Scott Duran, but I think that's a different situation considering that coaching change, and we'll get into that Schnall stuff later this offseason maybe. I mean, Kevin Schnall is on a tear in terms of his Twitter fingers and in terms of his transfer portal additions and subtractions. But all in all, back to what I was saying about Scott Forbes, I mean, he's going to do a phenomenal job, and they're going to be playing in June as well as putting their team in June for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I forgot to. Yeah, good point there, Kason too. But yeah, one other one I wanted to point out was CJ Eggery too from Holy Cross. I believe he was first team All Patriot this past season. So I'm big shoes to fill. Stepping in, you look at what Carolina's had in center field the past 3 years, and Owen Hull, Kane Kepley, and Vance Honeycutt. But I mean, the way things have gone for them the past 3 seasons, I mean, it's the next guy up.
Colby.
Yeah, another team I'd like to mention is Duke. I think they've had a really solid portal, highlighted by the 2 big guys. Obviously, we know of Anthony Turizo from Davidson, had a really good year this year. And then another prize for Duke is first baseman Eric Chaw from Northeastern. He had a really good year for Northeastern. And looking at who they lost, they didn't really lose much production. Duke did. I think with those 2 guys, they also got Alex Rizeri, probably saying that wrong, from Quinnipiac, shortstop. I really like what Duke has done in the portal and look for them to bounce back next year.
Yeah, I definitely think. Sorry, Reed. Before you go, that I definitely think like Colby said. I think it was a first year head coach had to build a team rather quickly. Now that he has a full offseason, knows what he can and cannot do, and like you said, Colby, I like these additions of Turizo, Eric Chai, and Izare, however you want to say it. Excuse me for butchering your name, kid. But I mean, Colby, just like you said, he's built it a good way. Also, Caden Fuller from Western Carolina transferred there too. So just good pieces there, and Reed just kind of really can't get any worse than what it was this past year.
No, and something to monitor too, where Duke's for could really scale. If Cider Cannon, he's got another year of eligibility. He wasn't drafted. That'll be something to monitor here over the upcoming weeks if he signs a free agency deal. Jake Lambden too wasn't drafted, and RJ Hamilton. I was a big fan of RJ Hamilton this past season. too. So, if none of those guys sign with what they're bringing in, they have a solid recruiting class too. So I would expect better things in year 2 for Corey Muscara.
Yeah, the lone Duke player drafted was Aiden Weaver in the 8th round to the A's. So not many Duke players drafted as in years past. We've seen a whole bunch of guys on this list.
Yeah, and my last winner when I was going through all these teams is obviously, we talked about it just a couple minutes ago, South Carolina and Kevin Schnall. Really rebuilt the roster. We'll start from outside the Carolinas they got. Connor Schaus from Texas Tech, one of the top players in the portal. Ethan Batone from Marshall. A familiar face around here, Bristol Carter from Auburn. Ethan Sutton from USF are the main 4 from outside the Carolinas. Then you got all the in-state in Carolinas transfers from Wake. You got Luke Costello and Andrew Costello from Wake, and then all the coastal guys, obviously. I mean, you can just go down the list: Luke Jones, Bryce Eastep. Oh, I forgot about J.D. Stein too at Wake, Walker Mitchell. So totally rebuild that roster, and I expect them to have a pretty good year next year.
Yeah. Yeah, Schnall, I will give him credit. South Carolina fans, you finally can be excited for a baseball season. It's been a little ugly on social media. Rubbing some feathers with the coastal fans, the way he's going about business is certainly interesting, but that's another discussion for another day, like you said, Kason. But I mean, just on top of that too, Colby, Hayden Johnson, Dominic Carbone are both going to South Carolina. They both didn't throw a pitch. 2 first-team preseason All-Americans last year. If they're anything, 70% of what they were 2 years ago. I mean, considering the pitching that South Carolina had this past season, the year before. But yeah, bringing on, they hire Bill Cilantro, longtime hitting coach too at Wake Forest, and I think that played a factor too, getting the Costello twins, or not the twins, sorry, the brothers to transfer over. Obviously, Luke put up massive numbers this past year too. J.D. Stein, and then not to mention the addition, the kid from Texas Tech. His name's blanking on me. What was it again, Colby?
Schaus.
Yeah. Yeah, things are the future looks really bright for South Carolina. They will be back in the NCAA tournament next year, looking to get back to them all.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that because I spoke about that on Steve and Igo's show at 94.3 The Game, how as soon as he left Wake Forest, it's kind of like the floodgates opened and there was a mass exodus from Wake Forest, and most of them channeled down there to Columbia, which was interesting indeed. But with Kevin, but with Schnall, you can say what you want about how he did it, about what he's doing. But I think this team does have winning pieces. And I think this is the first time we can really say that in the last 2 or 3 years, I would say. I mean, I would say going into this year, they had talent. So we don't really know, but I will say I think South Carolina fans are more looking forward to this baseball season than this upcoming football season. So it might be a long football season for them, and it might be a long basketball season for them. I also want to note, did y'all know Jake McCoy? He got drafted, but he also committed to also transferred to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be one to monitor. There was that happened throughout the Carolinas transfers, and then guys getting drafted. So it'll be interesting to see who doesn't sign. Obviously, if history tells us if you're drafted in the top 10 rounds, you're gonna go. It's pretty unprecedented.
Here we go. I just looked it up. Came out today. Jake McCoy turns down the Blue Jays. Will play for Tennessee this year.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, you're going to see a lot of guys, drafted in the latter half of the MLB draft that are going to be returning to school, and they're probably going to be getting more money than they would, getting drafted in the 19th or 20th round.
Yeah, Colby, you would have to imagine that NIL for Jake McCoy is bigger than that pick slot evaluation, right?
I'd assume so. Obviously, teams can go over slot for the players they really want to sign and
Yeah,
lowball the players that have no leverage. But yeah, probably.
yeah. All right. Thank you, Colby.
I have another team that I can't classify them as a winner because of all the circumstances of what they lost with their assistant going to South Carolina. I think Wake did a pretty good job, kind of filling this roster after everything that they've lost to South Carolina and other schools. Their main piece, Ryan Costello, they lost two Costellos. They added another one from Maryland. He had
Big power
15
hitter.
bombs. He had 15 bombs from Maryland last year. He started his career at LSU. I think he'll have a monster year at Wake next year. Also, Isaac Sturgis from Michigan State. He had a really good year for the Spartans. And then a player that I hated to see leave NC State, Vincent DiCarlo, catcher. I think he has a ton of upside, ton of potential, and Wake got him. Like I said, can't classify them as a winner because they did lose a lot. JD Stein, the Costellos, uh, Morningstar, but
Matt Conte.
yeah, I think they did a really good job so far. I think they still got a little bit more work to do, but so far I think they've done a really good job.
Yeah, all good points there, Colby. I will say, I like the addition of Gabe Fraser too from Florida State. Played in limited Had limited playing time last year with FSU, but when he did, he really impressed me. I think he can step right into that Wake lineup and be their next great shortstop. But I think the big question is for Wake where their success will be next year. I'll touch on it here in a second. First, it's will Dalton Wentz return? He went in the 16th draft eligible sophomore, drafted in the 16th round by the Giants, I believe. If you're Wake, you got to be throwing anything in your power at him to get him to return. He'll be the key leader on that offense and everything like that. But pitching wise, Wake on paper might have one of the best pitching staffs in the country next year. They don't lose besides Morningstar going to the portal. A few guys drafted too. But obviously, Chris Lavonis, I would assume he'll be a preseason first team All American next year. And then Troy Dressler, he's back. He 8 wins this past season. ERA was a little high, but he's young. And then younger guys too, like Rise Bowie, Evan Jones, Marcelo Harsh too are back. Cam Bagwell's back. So on paper, ton of depth. And the younger guys are only going to get better too. And especially when you have an ace like Lavonis returning, sets you up for success. If they can just continue to fill in some key pieces offensively in that lineup and Wentz returns, I could see Wake back in the hosting picture, hosting a regional in Winston-Salem next year.
For sure.
I agree with everything Tobin said.
You want me to move into losers?
Yes, sir.
Well, before you touch on losers, I think Clemson has had a decent portal. They lose. Are going to lose five guys drafted. We'll see if all of them sign. Obviously, Kanak is probably gone. A couple other guys too were drafted in the top 10 rounds, but obviously they lose Nate Savoy. He transfers out to A&M, which was a pretty big loss. Hayden Simmerson too transferred out. I believe he's going to Tennessee.
Yeah.
But they add Troy Sutterberg, third baseman from Toledo, who put up huge numbers last year too from them. And then Kason Minu, watched him. Isaac Caderna from USC too transfers in, to replace Gerald there behind home plate. And then what I really liked was them adding Jamie Daly. We talked about it. Him a good bit too with Davidson this past year. So I think he can do really well in the ACC. And then will Tristan McClatty and Luke Gaffney come back too? Two guys that weren't drafted. The 5-5 rule now. So that will be certainly interesting. They retain some of those guys too. Pitching wise, I'm a little worried about, but offensively, they look like they might be solid next year. And, especially after the disaster season, baggage will be doing anything in his power for that not to happen again.
Yeah, and Reed, I'm with they did have a good portal class. I'm looking at it right now. Some big departures, like you said, Reed. But I mean, right now on paper, Reed, in years, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but Reed, in years past, I think you look at the roster and say that the roster was better the last 2 years on paper than what it is right now. Granted, it's July 15th, 16th, whatever it is. But like, I mean, I think I think one year it's going to be Clemson's year. I don't know if it's a baggage thing or I don't know, but Reed, just Clemson and just not being able to get over that hump is just like they just can't win their own regional. They start off well and they just get stuck in the mud around mid-April. So hopefully it's different this year for them.
Absolutely.
That rivalry would be even better
Yeah,
now.
that's going to be a
Oh my
fun
God!
one.
Please God,
That's going to
please
be,
God.
yeah. I think we will be having to attend that this year or this upcoming season.
Yeah, for portal losers, I got two main teams I want to touch on: Winthrop and Wofford. Both got
Oof.
decimated by the portal. We'll start with Winthrop. Jalen Hernandez entered the portal and committed to Missouri State. Braden Gilly entered the portal and went to Baylor. Walker Brote went to Purdue. Gate Notfidad went to Xavier. And Mason Tompkins is still in the portal. So those are 5 pretty big losses, I'd say, for Winthrop. And Wofford, Nico Brini obviously had a tremendous year. He's transferring to Vanderbilt. Logan Tribble is transferring to Notre Dame. And Colin Cundon is transferring to Coastal.
I mean, both of those teams just got absolutely rinsed. I mean, just absolutely rinsed. And Reed, I can say this. I mean, this is nothing new for Wofford. I feel like every year Wofford they just get absolutely rinsed. And Reed, I've said it on our show multiple times. I think Wofford is one of the first teams of this new baseball transfer portal era in the Carolinas, a lower mid-major team in the Carolinas, to get stripped. Because after they were in the Tropical Regional, I feel like LSU was just plucking them, just
Georgia.
absolutely, and Georgia just absolutely ripping them apart. And but in that same breath, guys, Wofford's figured it out. Granted, they have not got back to 40 wins like they have been the last in 24 and years behind, but I mean they're navigating it. Has it been tough for them? Yeah, but I mean, just Vanderbilt, Notre Dame, Coastal, BC, Xavier. I mean, those are all pretty solid baseball programs there that are pulling from Wofford. So, is it disappointing? Absolutely, but I think it's just another year for Wofford, unfortunately.
I think they just developed really well, so I'm not too worried, but definitely losing some stars. My bad, Reed.
No, you're good. Yeah, that I mean, we touched on it. We've touched on it many times. It's just that day and age now in college sports, which is unfortunate for a lot of the teams we cover here. If you're a good mid-major, the big dogs are going to come calling, and they're going to pluck you and strip you clean, strip you down. But
Balls.
but I have faith in this Wofford. After the really disappointing season in 25, bouncing back. I know they didn't go to the NCAA tournament this year, but when they caught fire midway through the season, in the latter half of the season, that was really good to see. So it'll be interesting. A lot of unknown pieces still. It's only July, so. We'll just have to wait and see and hope they're back to their winning ways again next year. But I will say I wanted to
go ahead.
One last thing, Casey. One last thing I wanted to add too. I forgot to mention it. Wake has a top 5 recruiting class coming in next year too, and Clemson has a top 20. Just wanted to throw in Duke too with a top 30.
And I wanted to touch on Winthrop before we move on. Wanted to shout out some of these guys like Jalen Hernandez, Braden Gilly, Gabe, and Mason Tompkins. I mean, these guys have followed us the last 2 years on Carolina Curveball and been big supporters of us. We've been supporters of them, so I just want to wish them luck, as well as some of the Wofford guys. They've reached out to us, talked to us, interacted with us, follow us. So I just want to wish those guys the best. Good luck at your next programs. We absolutely hope that y'all kill it. We cannot wait. Colby.
Yeah, I think that's all I got for the big winners and losers. Unless there's some more teams you guys want to touch on that has caught your attention.
Did you
I'll
want to
touch
touch on states real quick, Colby? And then
Yeah.
Kason, you can do ECU.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can touch on state. I think Hunter Warren from Wright State, probably their best get in the portal. I think it's a guy that you automatically plug in the top third of the lineup, second baseman. And then also another Wright State player they got, Chet Lax. He'll probably be in the weekend rotation. Connor Ciccoli, which we're familiar with at South Carolina. I think he's going to play a big role in the staff. Not sure where or how, but I think he will. Andrew Raymond from Mississippi State, kind of a buy low, high potential guy, catcher. I think Landfear just announced he's coming back, so maybe a little competition there behind the plate. Jesse Gutierrez, probably saying that wrong, from San Jose State. Also think that's a potential to be in the weekend rotation, especially with Heath Andrews. He just signed a free agent deal with the Guardians yesterday. And then a couple more by low high potential guys. Maddox Mansour, I think he was a top 100 recruit out of high school. He was at Texas last year, freshman year, didn't play too much. And then McCall Beemler from Florida, he's a pitcher. I think State still has a good bit of work to do in the portal. I think they need at least one proven power hitter that's going to give you 10 to 15 bombs on the season. I don't think they've gotten that yet. I think that's the major weakness for State so far. They need a power bat or two from the portal that they could stick in the lineup and count on for 10 to 15 homers a year.
Yeah, State with the most players drafted of any school in the Carolinas with 7. Obviously, Rhett Johnson, he's probably going to be an preseason All-American next year, back after the sensational freshman season. Colby, you just want to touch on, what they're going to be losing and any chance any of the guys that were drafted return?
There was some talk about McHugh. He was drafted in the 11th round by the Padres, I believe, of him coming back, but that has been put down to rest. He is going to be signing. So you lose him, you're losing Nixon, you're obviously losing your whole starting rotation when all of them were healthy. We didn't see that a lot this year with Duden, Marone, and Heath Andrews all getting drafted. Sherman Johnson. So State is losing a lot. It's going to be a pretty different team next year. You're going to have a familiar face with Rhett in the outfield, and then kind of take it from there.
Nance will be back, right?
Nance will be back, yeah. So it's a lot of position players that need to be filled, and they've done that so far with Hunter. I already forgot his name. Hunter Warren. Is that what it is? Yeah, Hunter Warren. Sorry. And I think Maddox Mansour could play a factor and be one of those outfield spots with Rhett Johnson. State has lost a lot. They've gotten at least one starter to take Luke Nixon's spot, second, Hunter Warren. I think that's a good replacement, but I think there's a lot of work left to be done in the portal for State.
I think Kristen Serrano is a candidate for a big breakout season too. He really impressed me after stepping into that lineup at the end of the season.
Yeah, Mikey Ryan will be at short, so that'll be your left side of the infield with Warren at second base, and Raymond Landfear at catcher, one of those. Rhett, one of the outfield spots. Maybe Mansour from Texas and another outfield spot. Yeah,
it just feels so weird. Elliott Avent is not the coach anymore.
Yeah. Do you kind of think it's a good thing, or how do you feel about there's not many returning players? It really is going to be a fresh crop of players for Hart's first season. Granted, he's been there for so long, you could argue he he does do a lot of recruiting. He was basically an assistant head coach, basically, for forever. But also, Colby, the second part of that question is how important is it to have Rhett Johnson be that nucleus for that team? You have an All-American stud in the middle of that.
Yeah, it was huge that Rhett stayed. He definitely could have gotten a payday to go to the SEC, but he stayed at NC State, wanted to play for Hart. In terms of, I guess, differences between Hart and Avent tenure, I don't think it's going to be much different. I mean, Hart's been here for 20 years and has basically been Avent's main guy for 15 of them, 15 of the last years. So probably the last 5 to 10 years, he's been recruiting most of the team, going out. I listened to an interview he had with D1 Baseball last week and said he would travel and find the players he wanted to recruit, and Avent would be the last guy to step in and close the recruitment. But Hart has done a lot of the coaching, not coaching, but the behind the scenes of the coaching the past probably 5 years, besides game managing. So that's probably a difference that we'll have to get used to, is how's Hart going to manage the games compared to Avent. I think it should be an exciting time, though. It's a familiar face. I think if State did hire from outside, probably this is assumption, but Rhett maybe now would have stayed. Some other players might not have stayed. So I think there's going to be some continuity from going from Avent to Hart. I don't think it's going to be much different, which, in my opinion, that's a good thing, because I think Avent had a tremendous career.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, he did. Masterclass. And to go down to their rival down the road, Reed, me and your alma mater, the East Carolina Pirates. Reed, I think they were precise in the portal. I think they got the guys that they wanted. They're taking a different approach. They have gone to the lower levels, Division II, Division III levels. They got Braden Davis from the D3 level, batted 430, 15 home runs, bat all over the field. A D2 catcher, Jack Enrico, was first team All-American at the D2 level. Sawyer Wickstrom, who is another JUCO guy. But Reed, the belle of the ball for the Pirates is Weston Boyle, the shortstop for Purdue. Was really good for Purdue. Started the season really hot, kind of cooled off, kind of hit that freshman wall. But Reed, the real highlight there is his play in the field. Reed, me and you have watched a lot of ECU baseball. Steve and I has watched a lot of ECU baseball, and he said that he's seen plays that Boyle make at Purdue that he hasn't seen someone make on that side of the infield at ECU in a long, long time. So I think that his bat is a plus to whatever he brings, because ECU needs that glove more than anything. Matt Lashley was supposed to be that guy. He was hurt. Don't know if he was hurt for how long, but he was not the answer. And then Nick Parham was put in there. And Reed, you could argue Nick Parham kind of had them in some real tough spots, was really bad in the Chapel Hill Regional, cost them a few minor runs. And just having that side of the infield is going to be huge. Reed, your thoughts on the additions before we get into the subtractions.
Yeah, like you said, very precise. I think it's your typical Cliff Godwin summer since this whole portal era. He gets who he wants. He's not going to go after the huge targets in the portal or anything like that. So he takes a different approach. He's got some studs coming from, like you said, coming from the D2, D3 JUCO level. But getting a guy like Boyle is huge. Purdue was decent last year. They kind of hovered around the bubble for a little bit there, kind of at the end of the season too. So I mean, ECU, like you said, Kason. I mean, they haven't had a quality shortstop since Zach Agnos in 22. So I mean, just any guy that can field a decent percentage and then just hit the ball well. I mean, some of the batting averages the shortstops that ECU have put up the past few seasons. I mean, granted, Lashley was having a pretty good season before the injury. So yeah, I mean, if Boyle could hit 300 and field well, and be on a all conference level, that would be sensational. When they brought in Hakame last year, I thought that would be the answer, and then he was injured, and things just never clicked too with him.
Correct. And Reed, honestly, what feels like portal additions, or whatever you want to call it, is Bretton Tolick, Davin Whitaker, and Walker Barron making their return. They did declare for the draft, and Walker Barron and Bretton Tolick played in the MLB Draft League and actually played well. Walker Barron hit 281 with a few home runs. Bretton Tolick had 15 strikeouts in a couple appearances, did well, had a low ERA, and did not get picked or signed. So that was huge for the Pirates to have those guys back, because Brett Intolic is a guy, I mean, who finished the season strong. You don't know if he lines up in a weekend starter role. And I forgot to mention one guy that the Pirates got this offseason, Saxon Roberts from Auburn, who did not pitch much for Auburn this past year, if not at all. But he's another guy that's been up to 100 at Auburn. And Reed, I mean, he kind of reminds me of like a Luke Payne, Brett Intolic bounce back from the SEC, not pitching much to Tennessee or A&M, and then they come here and have kind of a breakout season. And also, not to mention, Luke Payne's coming back as well. So Saxon Roberts, who's been up to 100, also pitching in a summer league. So he has 33 strikeouts, so I think 10 walks in a Wood Bat League summer league, which is pretty solid. But that is the other big.
He's a lefty too, right?
I
believe he is, right?
Yes, he is a lefty. No, right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, he is a righty. Okay. ECU seems to like that, to get some guys that didn't get much PT at some of these big SEC schools and see if they can, Payne had his up and downs last year, had some really decent starts and had some head scratching starts too. I thought he got better as the season went along. Same with Antolic. I thought he was sensational in the Chapel Hill Regional down the stretch too. He was dealing with a ton of injuries too. And then, bringing back Davin Whitaker and Walker Barron, that's huge, and you pair that too with Braden Burris, their heart and soul, Grady Linehan. Excited to see what he's going to do his sophomore year. And then, Ryan Towers too, coming back too is huge for them. And then you hope a healthy Colby Weber.
Correct. And now the subtractions, Michael Kalinich and Austin Irby both transfer to Liberty. An interesting decision there. Matt Lashley transfers to Houston. Blade Carver did not get much action. Went to Austin Peay, and Luke Craddock, who redshirted, went to UNC Asheville. And Ethan Norby gets drafted in the 4th round to the Reds. And then Gavin Van Campen gets drafted to the LA Dodgers in the 12th, in the 12th round. I am very happy about that pick because the Dodgers are a great organization. I'm glad he's not going somewhere to die. He's going to an organization that's going to build him up and get him back because he is coming off Tommy John surgery. And then Joseph Webb. Go ahead.
That's who the Dodgers love to target in these drafts. I think they drafted three or four pitchers this draft that had Tommy John the past year.
Wow.
And they say though, like once guys have that big Tommy John surgery, it's just better because I've heard from Steven and some baseball people that like if you get that internal brace, it's kind of just like a Band-Aid until the arm falls off until Tommy John.
Yeah, because Dodgers have been doing this for years. When they drafted Walker Buehler, he got hurt his last season at Vanderbilt with Tommy John. And then they developed him, and he was really good until he had the second Tommy John like 6 years later. And now his career's kind of fallen down a cliff a little bit. But they like those guys coming off Tommy John and know they'll develop them until the next Tommy John hits in 6 or 7 years.
Oh, yeah. And Joseph Webb did sign a free agent deal with the Seattle Mariners. And how about the Seattle Mariners drafting two UNCW Seahawks? They draft Trevor Lucas in the 4th round. Good for him. Pick 129. And then the Mariners go on and draft Connor Marshburn in round 4. Oh, round 14. I messed that up on the graphic. Connor Marshburn did not get drafted in round 4. That's terrible. But 1, 2, 3 Seahawks drafted. That is pretty impressive. Any other
Nick
thing?
Cooper
Any
Allen.
other trans? What?
Oh, it's Cooper Allen, 6th round too.
Any other things about the transfer portal before we go on to the MLB draft?
No, I think that's a good start for tonight. Obviously, a lot of things are still going to play out.
Okay.
With this 5-5 rule, taking effect, that's going to play a huge factor. So, and there's still going to be a ton of news over the next few weeks and months.
So let's get into the MLB draft. Like I said, these are guys that played in the Carolinas, not committed. I mean, that would be such a long list to find. The guys that are committed, signed. But read Jake Schaffner, pick 20. This was kind of a shock here to the Boston Red Sox. And then Colby, I saw your text a few hours later of the Boston Red Sox are trying to rebuild with UNC players. And I don't think anyone's happier than Fairweather Red Sox fan Reed Tobin down there.
I was watching the draft, and when Schaffner got selected at 20, I was kind of shocked, but as a Red Sox fan, I love it. We knew he was going to be a high draft pick. I didn't think he'd be a top 20 overall pick. But then, in round 2 there too, the Red Sox add Owen Hull too. So Hull and Schaffner will continue to get to play together in the Boston minor league system, which is going to be awesome.
Correct. And Cameron Flukie drafted to the Detroit Tigers 2 picks later. And then Colby Ty Head drafted to the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, he is just a machine down there. Reed, where did Vance Honeycutt get drafted?
Orioles.
Did he get?
2 years ago. He was 1st round. I think he was 28th overall or something. But he's really struggled in the minors. I think he's still in single A still.
Wow. Yeah. The Orioles love them some white athletic boys. I mean, I just feel like their whole entire farm system is just white athletic outfielders.
Yeah. Good spot for Ty Head. Draft eligible sophomore obviously sucks that State only got 2 years out of him, but very well deserved for him.
Absolutely. And then Reed, Friday, Saturday guys for North Carolina. Jason DeCaro picked to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Looking forward to this one because me and my lady who lives in Greensboro, we've been going to some Greensboro Grasshopper games, and they're the high A affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And we go to a solid amount of games. So I'll maybe seeing Jason DeCaro and Ryan Marone soon in Greensboro. So maybe when either of them are pitching, and I know the schedule, I'll let you guys know next year. That's a pretty good minor league team to have Jason DeCaro and Ryan Marone. I mean, goodness gracious. And the Greensboro Grasshoppers have the number 1 pitching prospect right now, Seth Hernandez, too. So, hey, Greensboro Grasshoppers all the way here. But
Michael Gibson, too.
Yeah. I 100% agree. The Pittsburgh Pirates are on the rise. Same with the Greensboro Grasshoppers. But Reed and then Ryan Lynch to the Padres in the 3rd round.
Yeah. Ryan Lynch, obviously draft eligible sophomore. All season, he had, after a great freshman year, he had up and downs this year. Really ended the season strong, I thought. We'll see if I fully expect him to sign. Especially with the addition of the kid from Cal State Northridge. That's my one complaint kind of about the MLB draft is guys kind of sucks, only having them for 2 years and then they can leave after that sophomore year. But yeah, I mean, Lynch's potential, with that fastball too and his off speed, I fully expect him to be touching over 100 or at least at 100 here in the upcoming years too, while he continues to develop.
And Colby, how disappointed were you when the Dodgers didn't draft Jacob Duden coming off an arm injury?
He's one of the few that slipped by with coming off.
Yeah.
Reed, that rule might be changing. Obviously, probably going to be a lockout.
I would agree.
Owners and players are very far off. I think the owners propose that in the new CBA there'll be no high schoolers eligible in the draft, and then only draft eligible players are after 3 years or 4 years, and I think it's 3 years in college. So they shortened the draft by quite a bit. I think it would go to 20 to, I think it was 10, and it'd just be all 3-year college players and no high schoolers. But who knows if that'll come out? It's going to be a long off season for MLB with all the rule changes, but we'll see.
Yeah,
that would be absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, if that happens, I'm with you, Colby. I mean, it's been talked about quite some time now. I think there is going to be a lockout next year. We're going to have our hands full next season with the 5-5 rule, with guys coming back to school and everything. It's going to be something to monitor next year.
That is crazy. Holy smokes! Y'all think that'll be good for the game? College baseball?
Oh no! I mean, college baseball. It's going to help college baseball as a whole. The whole high school. I've always liked that at the MLB. You could go right out of high school. I wish that's what college basketball did. I've said that. I've stood by that for a long time. So it's certainly. I mean, that would be unprecedented if they got rid of that. I mean, look at teams over the years. A lot of teams take high prospects that are seniors in high school. So yeah, I mean that would be unprecedented.
I touched on it before. Ethan Norby to the Cincinnati Reds. Cade Lewis to the Guardians in the 4th round. Trevor Lucas to the 4th round. Ryan Marone. Colby, are you kind of shocked he got picked in this spot here in the 5th round?
I was expecting probably around the 3rd or 4th, kind of where Duden was. I think Duden would have been higher too if he didn't get injured. But Marone was dealt with that injury too the last half of the season, so maybe that played a factor. But I think it was a good spot, 5th round, still good money. Going to the Pirates, who I think they're on the come up, and I think that it's a fine spot. I think maybe he could have gotten to 3rd or 4th if he stayed healthy all year.
Shout out the Greensboro Grasshoppers.
Yeah, I'll be coming to some games, Kason.
Yeah, please do. Come on. Tuesdays, $2 hot dogs, $3 beers. Wednesday, $3 White Claws. Thursdays, $3 beers, $3 burgers. I mean, can't beat it. Come on now. Cannot beat it. Come on now. Luke Nixon, 10 picks later to the Giants. How long, Tony? How much longer Vitello will be there?
I said when I was kind of joking when he went there, I'm like, he's just doing this for a couple of years until Van Horn retires and is going to go to Arkansas. Maybe that's coming true. I don't know how long he's going to last. I think the team he has sucked.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, hell, I mean, he might have with how it went with Eater in the season. He might have his job back, and how he's doing in San Francisco. He might have his job back at Tennessee sooner versus later.
But if he gets fired, I don't think he's going to be waiting around. He's going to take a job.
Oh, absolutely. Did I say Eater? I meant to say Elander.
Elander. Yeah, you said Eater. I was like, who is eating?
Yeah, Elander. Yeah.
I doubt he'll get fired after 1 year.
No, yeah. I
No.
think certainly. I think he gets at least. I mean, if they're dead last again next year. Sorry.
You also can't make chicken salad with chicken shit. I mean,
They were taking a huge
Colby
risk
said it.
though, and they were taking a huge risk bringing him in from the college. We've never seen anything like that. A college head coach jumping to the major league for a manager position. So yeah, we'll see if he can turn the corner here over the upcoming years.
Aiden Kanak drafted in the 5th round. Disappointing year from him. Definitely think he slid. Disappointing there, Tobin. Definitely think he had a better year. If Clemson had a better year, he would have been drafted higher for sure.
Agree.
Cooper Allen drafted in the 6th round, was really good for the Seahawks. To the Nationals, LeGarrette from Clemson to the Royals. Duncan Marston to the Reds, Macon Winslow in the 6th round to the Phillies. Gage Peterson, shout out App State, drafted to the Nationals. David Rosal to the A's. Sherman
I'm really
Johnson.
liking this athletics draft. I'm finally digging into it. Yeah,
A lot of talent from the Carolinas.
A lot of talent. And the Mariners. Sherman Johnson to the Reds, and Aiden Weaver of Duke to the A's. Jacob Jarrell to the Braves. Cooper Consiglio to the Phillies. Michael Gibson to the Pirates. Ross Normand to the Orioles. Javar Williams to the A's. Chris McHugh. Was there real speculation that he was going to not sign?
I think it was like more state fans hoping, since he wasn't a top 10 rounder, and it's kind of floated around there. I don't think it was ever real.
Okay. Shout out Drew Titsworth, drafted to the Phillies. Hope they give him that 00 jersey. Connor Marshburn drafted to the Mariners. Drafted 2 Mariners. As I said before, Van Kempen drafted to the Dodgers. Alec Bouchard drafted to the Twins. Ty Bratchville to the Padres. Ant Phillips, shout out Ant Phillips to the Rays. Horn to the Sox. Dalton Wentz going to sign?
That's the big question. I guess you could say that too about Javar Williams too. I would expect him to sign though, but like I said earlier, Wake needs to be doing anything in their power to get Dalton Wentz back.
Chris Torres to the Mariners.
I believe Philpott. Sorry, yeah, Kaysen. I believe I read Philpott. He transferred to Florida State, or where?
Yeah,
I forget where.
Did he sign? You
not sure yet. A lot of these guys like to hold out to like the last possible day to sign their contract.
Well, they just want to get the most money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Chris Torres, upstate guy, to the Mariners. And read Matthew Mateus to the Mariners in the 7th round.
Yeah, good for him. You know, coming off the surgery too last year. Wasn't his best year this year, but you know, he gets a chance too. So
he's a senior?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good for him. Colby, Dodgers, Camden, Wimbish. Is he hurt by chance?
No, but it's a former state player, so some would say Pac Pro, Dodger Pro. Let's go.
There you go. And then the last pick, which was not a pick, Jake McCoy, drafted by the Blue Jays, will be going to Knoxville instead. Be coached by Austin Knight. Josh Elander's putting a lot of his eggs in Austin Knight's basket. Same with Austin Knight, because Reed, like you said it, if Elander has a bad year, he's canned. That means
How
Austin
about this notification that just popped up? The A's are calling up third baseman Tommy White.
Wow.
No way.
Wow.
Making his debut on Friday.
Well, how fast did Nick Kurtz come up there? I mean, my God, sorry, it's kind of the same thing. But Nick Kurtz is crushing the ball.
Yeah, Kurtz is unbelievable.
White was drafted, 24?
Yeah, it took him a bit longer than Nick Kurtz. I'm pretty sure Kurtz was like 3 months.
if that.
Yeah.
That shit was insane, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, boys, we're deep into the offseason. Football's almost here. Have y'all been watching the World Cup?
Wow,
Yeah, totally.
look at you. Look at you, Kason. Never thought I'd see the day. Same with you, Colby, watching soccer. I hate Argentina. Pissed about today's game. But Messi's incredible. I'll give him all his respect. But really wanted England to win.
I don't watch
I know
soccer
Arge-
much. It seems England was playing pretty scared down the stretch, trying to protect the lead.
Correct. Yeah, very questionable decision tactics from Thomas Tuchel cost them the game, and their chance to bring it home. But yeah, glad to see y'all are watching the World Cup. I hope Spain wins. Not a fan of them either, but no, I can't stomach another Argentina World Cup.
Well, just don't think about that. We got the Open Championship starting in about 3.5 hours. Took PTO again for tomorrow and Friday, and I'm going to be staying up all hours of the night to be watching some golf. I'm excited. One of my favorite tournaments of the year.
That's always our debate. Do we stay up or go to bed early? So you're staying up. I'm going to try to go to bed early. We'll see. I've said that in the past and end up staying up till 4 a.m. watching and screwing myself for the next day.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to try to fall asleep here shortly after this and wake up at like 4, which is kind of normal for me nowadays.
Yeah.
I will be watching the Open at some point this weekend. My focus has been better towards golf, but I will say my focus is starting to shift. NFL training camp starts next week. Looking forward to that. Football is coming. I can taste it. I can smell it in the air. Looking forward to that. Boys, going to do some more shows throughout the summer, I think. Recapping some Portal. I mean, we only went through, probably 10 teams of the 28 tonight, maybe if that. So it's always good to talk ball. I mean, I think we're going to take this into the fall, through fall ball. I think our first big break will be right when football starts. And then when fall ball ends, maybe when fall ball ends, that what is that time period? Like going in November into Christmas, get back into it in January. Because, I mean, they're not doing much. And that's when football's at its peak, basketball starting. So
maybe we can all, in an upcoming show, maybe all say our way, way too early Omaha 8.
Yes. Tobin's in his Omaha 8 after Oklahoma hoisted the trophy, but it's okay.
Yeah, with confetti pouring. Yeah.
I already got one of my Omaha 8s locked in.
Who?
Carolina. They make it every year.
Remember
we'll
when
certainly
James
have a good chance next year.
Remember when James Malice said UNC wouldn't make the tournament?
I told him I'd cut off my thumb if that came true.
Remember he said they wouldn't win a game in their regional too?
He did say that indeed. He did indeed say that.
He did tell me that he did tell me he bet Carolina in game 3 that Monday night.
Oh,
so there you go.
So
and that's why he lost.
He
should blame it on him.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You should blame it on him, Tobin.
I already did.
Well, all right, guys. Thanks for coming on tonight. It was a fantastic show. Colby, great work with the transfer portal, winners and losers. Reed, Tobin, good as always. Folks, be sure to follow us at Carolina Curve BB on all social medias. We will have some more content out for you throughout the summer, going into the fall. Very deep into the off season. We got head coaches fighting with burner accounts. I mean, we are in it, folks. We're in it. Folks, good night. Enjoy the World Cup. Enjoy the Open. Be safe out there, and don't eat any lettuce. You might get diarrhea. Good night.
Or Taco Bell.